Alexa, music off. Good morning, everyone who doesn't know who I am, which is everyone. So, in the spirit of chaos, as I function in my life, what am I doing? Like, I can't get comfortable. Oh. Come closer to me. Close. Yes. Good. Okay. So in the spirit of chaos, I realized that I started my channel talking about shit, but haven't actually introduced myself because nobody in the world knows who I am. Hello, nice to meet you. I am a writer and have been for my entire adult career. And I write essays, and I was a columnist for a newspaper in Italy where I lived for 5 years. I'm a painter, as in like trained to paint, but never do it. In fact, one of my friends in grad school painted that. I love him, Jason. I wrote a book. It's a funny memoir about the pitfalls of living in Italy, which was kind of, it was reviewed, I can't remember who, Kirkus maybe, as like the anti-Eat, Pray, Love, because it was kind of like the reality of what it's like to live abroad. I lived in Italy for 5 years, and I went to grad school there for painting, which I paid a ton of money for and never do, so that was worth it. Actually, the school was worth it. I met the best people there, like the best people who I'm still very close with, and they mean very much to me, and they span across multiple continents and states, and it was honestly the best year of my life, truly. In fact, I'm gonna do a whole video just about that experience because it was 100% the best year of my life. Blah, blah, blah. I don't think I've ever learned more about myself, fucked up more, made bigger mistakes. I've definitely never been yelled at as much by a very angry Eastern European professor. So that was a thing that I learned I dislike. And yeah, it was amazing and really hard. Living outside of your home country is one of the best things that you can do for yourself in terms of growing and finding yourself and challenging yourself, learning another language, all of it. And it's also probably one of the hardest, most soul-crushing things that you will do. Like, let's be honest, it's so hard, especially if you have to learn another language. You have to learn how, like, all the bureaucratic nonsense, and like, not to be a dick, but Italy is, an especially grand shit show when it comes to bureaucracy. You have to navigate things that sound really simple, like the doctor or the post office, but things work very differently. And it's a lot. It's a lot, but it's a good a lot. I really grew and found myself there. Also developed some debilitating social anxiety, which is really hard and not good for somebody who is a freelance writer, like for a career, because I already spend so much time alone and working alone and talking to myself. Like, I am 100% like my own best friend a lot of the time. I'm just sitting around mumbling about shit. And why is this on? It's driving me crazy. Not good for somebody who works from home alone 99% of the time, to, in addition to that very sort of isolated lifestyle, to developed social anxiety, from the challenges of just that time in my life, and living abroad. It was also, part of it was that my little brother died tragically, from a drug overdose. And that is like a whole other video. You guys are getting to know a lot about me right now. I'm a Virgo, very judgy in my own way, and mostly of myself. So that's fun. It was a really tough time in my life. So, kind of after that, the grieving from my brother dying, the difficulty of living abroad, language barriers, like just feeling very isolated, I developed a lot of social anxiety and some pretty severe depression. Moved back to the States and have kind of been in therapy ever since, working on said depression and anxiety, which have, I manage it pretty well now, with the help of some fantastic medication, but also just like meditation and, mindfulness and my amazing therapist, and I've been on a steady track of like working on myself ever since I came back from Italy. And then the pandemic happened and I kind of had to start over a little bit, because that's a lot, to be like anxious and depressed and then go into like extra isolation. And then, so I had to like rework a lot of stuff, but I feel like right now I'm in a good place. So, and that brings us to the point of like, why in the fuck is this like random woman doing like video thing? Why am I doing this channel? Honestly, it's to challenge myself. I hate being photographed and I really hate being on video. It makes me very anxious. I'm very uncomfortable with it. It's not my happy place. Like I like being, behind my computer and, just kind of working things out in my brain and writing. And I want to be better at doing video stuff. Like, it's 2023, it's important, it's important. And so I'm kind of doing it as like a 2023 challenge, I hate photos, I hate videos, I'm gonna do it. I love to read. I am a huge reader. It's like my escape. Recently got into fantasy. I rarely read fantasy before. I was introduced to this series, which like, unless you live under a rock, you have heard of it. Maybe you haven't read it, but you've definitely heard of it. It's the ACOTAR series, the A Court of Thorns and Roses series by Sarah J. Maas. I was actually at my friend's bachelorette party bachelorette weekend, and we were at brunch, and I was talking, I wrote a vampire novel that is very different from probably what most of you have seen in this genre. It's not rapey, it's not toxic, and it's very much like It Ends With Us meets, I don't know, Something Hotter from Blood and Ash. If you've read those books, those are really good books. So it's like very, very like contemporary fiction, women's fiction, lots of feminist undertones. The characters are Persian and like from different parts of the world, from Southeast Asia. My family is Persian. That's another thing about me. So, well, I should say my father's side of the family is Persian. That's why I have these gigantic eyes. Like, do you see those? I look like an anime character half of the time. If I don't like put lots of dark eyeliner, they take over my entire face. Like, it's like, so yeah, I was at this bachelorette brunch. I was talking about the vampire novel And, you know, the women were like, if you like vampires, you should read this series of this fae fantasy series. Like there's fairies and it's hot and there's tons of hot sex and blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, yeah, no, I'm not into fairies. Like, because in my brain, like I was thinking of like Tinkerbell. And I was like, I'm not into Tinkerbell sex. That just creeps me out. Like, no. And they were like, no, trust me. Like, you have to read it. You're going to be into it. Give it a try. So I did. And the first book was good. I like finished it. I read it poolside, like at the gym. It was nice. It was a nice summer read. Then the end of book one gets really good. Like, this is a very Sarah J. Maas thing though, right? Where the book like is like kind of slower pacing. And then at the end, it's like a fucking shit show. Just everything in the world happens at the end. And it's just everything. The end of her books are so fun and there's so much happening and it's just chaos. So the end of the book, great, super into it. The second book, amazing. And it just goes on from there. Like, totally hooked, like Sarah J. Maas fan for life. I've also read, you know, the Crescent City series and the blah 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 my brain, Throne of Glass series. I talk about all of this stuff. I do book reviews and talk about pop culture in my podcast, You're Gonna Be Great. You can find it on iTunes or Spotify, whatever. But yeah, I have guests on. We use pop culture to talk about bigger things like ageism and, you know, xenophobia and homophobia and how to build resilience and grit and how to build community with books, because that's basically what I did. Like, these babes told me to read these books and I was like, nah, and they were like, yes, and I did. And then we had like a message chat, and it sounds like the smallest thing in the world, but I was like deeply depressed at the time. And so just having these books and these like women I didn't really know to chat with about the books was like it was like throwing an anchor to me, you know. And they had no idea that I was depressed because I don't really talk about it. But, you know, and then I got all of my really good friends involved in reading these books and talking about it. And it brought a lot of us out of like these kind of post-pandemic holes that we had dug ourselves in. So yeah, like I'm really into these books. I love fantasy now. I just read The Cruel Prince, which was also a really interesting YA book. And I just read It Ends With Us. Horribly traumatic, cried a lot, felt deeply unwell after I read it. So there's that. And yeah, I blah, blah, blah. And this one weirds people out. And I'm actually writing an article about it right now because it weirds people out. Very into K-pop. Really love K-pop. Stumbled across it accidentally on TikTok. Stumbled across Felix from Stray Kids on TikTok. His voice reminded me of a character in one of these books. And I was like, who the fuck is this hottie? Go down a rabbit hole, boom, like huge Stray Kids fan. Then just started asking Alexa to play random K-pop playlists for me. Got really into it. People are super fucking weirded out by that. And honestly, I think it stems from this ignorance that Americans have of anything outside of, you know, their borders. And also this intense xenophobia that we have of South Asia, you know? Well, I mean, just the entire continent of Asia is difficult for Americans to wrap their minds around. You know, my family's from West Asia, you know, being from like, you know, Iran, the Persian Empire, all of these things. But you know, that whole continent is very confusing for Americans and it weirds them out. Southeast Asia and East Asia, you know, because I think that in the States, you know, even though we're a melting pot, and this is what I'm writing about in my article, you can read it on Medium soon. Um, even though we're a melting pot, all of the stuff that we see in entertainment, in the media, it is all Anglo-Saxon Germanic, right? In culture and in aesthetic, in the way that people look. You know, when I was growing up, I was like, oh, I'm so ugly. Like, how am I ever gonna, date? Because all that I saw growing up were very Germanic looking women on the screen, blonde, like fair skin, blue eyes. And, my skin's pretty light for being Persian. I have a little brother who's about 9 shades darker than me. But, I have a little bit of like olive tone, and I tan really dark in the summer. And growing up, people were always like, oh, you look so exotic. Where are you from? You're from somewhere. I just don't know where. Where are you from? Where are you from? Iran, okay? My father hails from Iran. My mother is from, fuck knows, right? She's like American. In fact, my mom is like strawberry blonde hair, bright blue eyes, white as hell, freckles, this big, like the tiniest little pocket person. And yeah, so growing up, I never saw myself on screen. And so I was like, I'm a hideous monster. And that goes for a lot of people have to contend with that. And if you grew up a different race than what we see in, mostly in entertainment, the media, whatever, books, all of it. Or if you're a mixed ethnicity or a different ethnicity, you don't really see yourself on the screen portrayed in any way other than a stereotype. And this really goes for East Asians, right? They're always a stereotype. They're like the karate master, or like a super ninja, or like, we see them as like a doctor. Oh, look, the doctor came in, or like, look at this lab assistant, or what the fuck ever. We have a handful of really successful Southeast Asian, East Asian American comedians and actors, a few singers. It's like very few though, like, right? There's not that many. And so we have no idea, without like directly having these relationships in our life, which I highly recommend doing. Like, get up out your chair and go make friends with people who don't look like you or are from different places than where your family hails from, because that experience really opens up your mind. Travel more, all of the things. Get out, get out, get out. Watch shows from different countries. Listen to music from other countries. Do not develop a fetish for those people though. Like, they're people just like everybody else. Some of them are hot, some of them are mid at best. Some of them are really smart, some of them are really dumb. It's like everybody, right? So don't get weird about it, but get out there and do the things. So when you say back to my original point, is like, when you say that you listen to K-pop, people are like, oh my God, that's so weird. Why? Aren't they just like, Asian men in a lot of makeup dancing around, like choreographed dancing? And like, oh, what kind of music deals people even put out? Like, listen, guys, like, I know you don't see it in mainstream media. I know that men wearing tons of makeup and like being extra freaks you out in our extremely homophobic society, even though it's getting better. It's getting a lot better, but our society is still super homophobic. And, men in makeup, like, we love in America, like hyper masculine men that are like, whoa, where's an engine? I need to fix it. Like, fuck, I need to put oil in a thing. And like, rah, like ripping their shirt off and like, fucking look at my muscles. Oh, if we were cavemen, I'd be able to feed you lions. Blah. Like, it's a whole thing. We love hypermasculinity here. Like, fucking toxic masculinity, we're all about it. So I get it. Like, the idea of like very kind of elegant, not massively like built men in all of the, you know, they're pop stars. They have really nice bodies because like all they do is work out all day long. But like in tons of makeup, wearing like clothes that are super extra, like dancing around and being amazing at it. Like I get it, it freaks us out. But like, you know what? That's a you problem. It is fucking awesome. The music is so good. A lot of the groups like BTS, which like I'm not a huge BTS fan, but I do like them. They're self-produced, right? Like Stray Kids, self-produced, self-formed within JYP. They're amazing. Go out and listen to them. Don't be weird. Don't be xenophobic, okay? It's not cute. Don't be homophobic, also not cute. Like go do the things, go live a life outside of like what is fed to you. Whatever, I'll clean it after. Really into weird animals. Like this is my favorite mug. You can see it's got a cute tiger on it. It's also black and white because I don't, this right here in my house is like the most color that you'll see. On me, I will maybe occasionally wear dark green. Other than that, it's gonna be black or white or gray. I am a storm cloud. I've come to terms with it, and that's just who I am in this life. It is what it is, guys. I love weird animals. I'm writing a children's book about a capybara named Dwayne that does fun shit. I love the capybara, the Majestic capybara. They sound like chainsaws when they make noises, and they're so fucking cool that not even gators will eat them. I am all about them. Learn a thing or two about the capybara. They're so cute. They're mostly cute. I think they also eat their own shit. I really wanted one as a pet until I learned that, and then I was like, hard no for me, I can't. But you know, I like to watch them from afar. People love to send me capybara videos. I love you for that. Please send more. Also, blah, blah, blah. I really just like to watch Nature Channel stuff. Very into the anglerfish and how like the female fish essentially just eat, like their bodies absorb the male anglerfish until the woman fish is basically just like a gigantic creature like covered in like male testes. It's fucked up, y'all. It is so fucked up. What else can I talk about? A poodle, he's 12 and a fucking asshole. He bites me like 400 times a day. He's so crusty. I love him a lot, but he's the worst. He's actually the worst. And yeah, I like rom-coms. I hate horror. Everything stays in my brain forever. If I watch one scary movie, like the images will haunt me for the next billion years. I can't do it. I can't do anything sad for the exact same reason. Things haunt me. You know, it's funny, like I know people are gonna be like, how old are you? And here's the thing, I'm not gonna say. Because, and this is gonna be on the podcast, I've been talking a lot about ageism and how fucking silly it is that we're obsessed with how old everybody is so that we can form this kind of idea of what we think they are or who they are based on that information, based on what personal experiences we believe that they should have had by that age or have not had by that age. I also think that we use it as like a silly hierarchy in our culture. You know, we think that anyone who is 21 is automatically dumb and inexperienced and vapid, whereas, you know, we have this assumption that by the time somebody is 60 that they're wise and they've lived the lives and they know the things. But here's the thing, somebody at 21 can be really good at self-reflection. They could have had a very, very hard life and had a lot of therapy and even have children at that age and have lived a complete full life where they are wise and they are serious and they are educated even in their own way. I don't even mean like they went to college, but I mean they're well read. They you know, are very interested in the world. And you can have somebody who's 60 who's like that bitch at Chili's who is like hysterical because you didn't refill. I might have worked at that restaurant in college. They're like hysterical because you're not refilling the Diet Coke fast enough, and they have never spent more than 7 seconds, you know, looking at themselves, maybe doing a little bit of work, maybe seeing a therapist if they're able or privileged enough to do that. Lord knows it's really hard in our society with how expensive it is. I could probably buy a second house with how much money I have spent in therapy. But yeah, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't say much, you know, like you can be 60 and very emotionally immature and have had very limited life experience and be, you know, or be 60 and be very wise and have lived a life that has allowed for a lot of experiences. And, you know, you can be 20 and also be a vapid shithead. Like it doesn't matter. It really doesn't. It doesn't say much. I'm not interested in it. I don't really care anymore. I stopped asking how old other people are. I don't give a fuck. I'm more interested in like people who can live really fun lives and who do the things and who are interesting and fun to converse with. And that can be somebody who is, you know, 20 or somebody who is 80, 90, 100. I don't care. Really, some of the most fun I've had with my life have just been in groups of people who are from all walks of life and all ages, and they bring so much to the table. So like, let's not. It's boring. I feel like this is the longest intro thing ever. Anyway, thank you so much if you're still here for watching this video. I super appreciate it. DM me on Instagram, Emmy Evans, if you have any constructive criticism, if there's something you want me to talk about. I really appreciate you being here and on this journey while I like figure shit out and grow and talk about all of the things. And I'm sorry about all my weird rants. I do that. 100% sure I have ADHD. Anyway, thank you so much for being here, and hope to see you next week.